One night a few days ago, I saw the movie Dr. Zhivago again. The highlights are still innumerable, and I was particularly impressed by one segment. Zhivago, a medical student, took an old-fashioned streetcar with several books in his arms and ran through the streets of Moscow, his face filled with hope, curiosity, and simplicity. Life is unfolding to him, and anything is possible. For many years, I have been looking forward to seeing young people with books under their arms on the streets of Beijing. They can look hurried or unruly, and books are their tickets to the unknown and a wall against vulgarity. Unexpectedly, I haven't encountered it once. In this city of more than 10 million people, on the bustling roads, in restaurants, subway cars, and park benches, I rarely meet real readers. You should know what I mean. Of course someone is reading something. It could be a book, a magazine, a newspaper, or an iPad screen. However, these prints and screens seem to have lost the meaning of the book. They do not provide another possibility of life, forcing them to ask about the meaning of life. They distract them and help them acquire more survival skills. In short, they do not provide another kind of logic, only reinforce the original logic. This is also the moment in China, realistic, visible, material forces engulfed everything, fantasy, ethereal, spiritual areas continue to shrink, and even become a joke. People are ashamed to talk about their hearts and ideals of life, and unconsciously belittle the space of knowledge, thought, and spirit, and think that they are anachronistic and weak. If you ask people at the dinner table what you have been reading recently, what you think of Joseph Brodsky will probably give you an inexplicable look. People are even ashamed to mention some words. More than a decade after Wang Meng shouted, "Avoiding the sublime," people not only dodged it, but also ridiculed it and trampled on it. All this is not difficult to understand. If you put it within the framework of world history, China's mental state at the moment is similar to that of the Soviet Union in the Brezhnev era, the Czech Republic in the Husak period, and Hungary in the 1980s. A powerful, false and demagogic ideological system has collapsed, and people living on the spiritual ruins are at a loss as to what to do and even do not know how to describe their plight. The whole discourse system has been polluted and all the words have lost their original meaning. After so many years of cruel, people's democratic dictatorship, the concepts of people and democracy have become so vague. After shaping so many moral models such as Lei Feng and Wang Jinzi, morality has become ambiguous. After criticizing individualism and bourgeois liberalization for so many years, the faces of individual and freedom have been blurred. After affixing the labels of "the more knowledge is, the more reactionary" and "stinky mind" are affixed to the intellectuals and flatten the students' demands with tanks, knowledge, and intellectuals not only lose their halo, but also symbolize uselessness. The constant singing of socialist ideal has made ideal a synonym for deceit. This situation has become more serious because of the new mass culture and commercial culture. The feeling of being deceived is so strong that people choose not to believe anything. But life must need something solid to resist the inevitable fragility of life. Therefore, the so-called realistic, visible, and material things not only occupy our external space, but also fill our spiritual space. For a while, it seems that it really fills people's emptiness, and matter brings new freedom. And that kind of mistrust attitude also seems to make us feel a certain freedom and dignity, which more or less confirms the famous saying that cynicism is actually a masked conscience. This brief deal has expired. Material power can no longer alleviate spiritual emptiness, but begins to aggravate anxiety. China's younger generation is an unprecedented materialized generation, but also shows a rare loss. Because you are not used to talking about ideals, books, poetry, and life, a house and a new backpack become very important. The more they emphasize the importance of real life, the more reality torments them. Cynicism also has nothing to do with conscience, and in many cases, it is just cynicism. The object of ridicule in the past has long been disintegrated. Ridicule itself has become a new and powerful force that should be vigilant. It also reinforces the existing distorted order. The main tyranny of the 20th century, be it communism, fascist extreme power, or the rule of money, was based based on spiritual
还是
nihilism.
金钱的统治，
It is the
都是以
uniqueness
精
and
神上的事物主
self-sufficiency of
义
the
为基
spiritual
础
world
的。
that makes
正
everyone
是精
different
神
and
世界的
protects
独
them
特
from the
性、
danger of
自
being
主性，
abused and trampled
让
on.
每个人不同，
The
让他们
premise of this
抵御被滥
uniqueness
用、
and
践踏的危
self-sufficiency is
险。
that people must
而这
refine
种
the
独特
words,
性、自
thoughts,
主
and
性的前
emotions
提，
to explore and
是人们
describe
必
their
须
own
重新寻
spiritual
找到
space.
探索
This
自
is
己，
not simply
描述自
copying
己精神
historical
空间的
scenes
词
to
语
make
和
Zhivago-like
思想与
youths
情感，
appear on the streets of
这并非
Beijing,
是
or
简单的
parties
复
once
制历史
again
场
brimming
景，
with the vibrant and
令北
often
京的街
confusing
头
talk
出
of the
现日瓦戈式
1980s.
表情的青年，
Every
或
generation
是
and
聚会
everyone
上
has to
再度
find
洋
their
溢
own
起
way
80
to
年代
establish
生
their
机
own
勃
inner
勃，
world.
也经常不
But
知
the
所云
premise
的
of
高
this
谈阔
change is
论。
that we must save
每一
those
代人
tainted and
每一
distorted
个人
words and
都要寻找
emotions
自
and
己的
give
方
them
式
their original luster.
来确立自己的内在世
Spirit,
界。
thought, and
但这
knowledge
种
are
改
not
变的前
fragile
提
and
是，
powerless,
我们必
but
须
an
把那
eternal
些被
force,
玷污、
and they always
扭曲
prevent
的词
real
汇、
power from
情感
becoming
拯
too
救出
vulgar
来，
and rude.
给他们赋予本来的光彩。精神、思想、知识不仅不是脆弱、无力的，反而是一种永恒的力量。他们永远在防止现实权力变得过分粗鄙与粗暴，